You are listening to Why Such a Fuss podcast, sponsored by CVG Solutions, with your host, Christina Vanini Goodchild, and guests.
Today I'm pleased to have with me Sona Mehta, who has been a guest previously and is returning. So Sona is a senior law lecturer at the City St George's, part of the University of London, and is a qualified solicitor with over 20 years experience in data protection. Welcome to the show, Sona. So nice to have you back.
Thank you very much, and so nice to be here.
Now, Sona, today I wanted to talk about the difference between a privacy notice and a privacy policy, because there is still a lot of confusion out there. The terms are being used interchangeably, when in reality there is a very different and distinct, this distinct difference between the two, and they actually serve two different purposes.
Yeah, there is indeed. I mean, I think the issue seems to be, as you said, the confusion. Generally, policies are internal documents for staff members. You wouldn't expect an end user customer to be reading a 30-page document on the do's and don'ts, whereas a notice is there to effectively inform people what's going on. Yeah. It's an outward-facing, consumer-facing, customer-facing document. It's supposed to be user-friendly. Policies, as we all know, employment policies are not always the most easiest documents to read. Yeah. And that's a matter between the employer, often drafted by employment lawyers, and their employees collectively. Whereas a notice is supposed to just inform.
Yes, that's right. And when you're saying that, what I'm picturing is like those like a medieval scenario where you have the sheriff going into the village and putting the notice on the board with the nail. That is exactly where that comes from, isn't it? It was a notice to inform the villagers, this is what's happening, this is what the king has decided, or the lords, whatever it might be. Obviously we've moved
on a bit.
But the purpose is the same. It's to inform. I mean,
I think at the end of the day, if I'm visiting a website, I might enter in my details.
Yes.
And it's the opportunity for the company, the website operator, to tell me what's going to happen to this information. Yeah. Because we're talking about personal data, my details, my email address, my name, my address. All of that is personal data. Yes. So it goes back to, well, if you're talking about personal data, I'm entrusting the website provider with that information, and the notice is effectively their side of the deal.
Yes, absolutely. And again, the notice and the policy are two separate documents with two different purposes, and actually an organization needs both. Absolutely. It's not like one or the other. Yeah. You need both.
I mean, organisations are going to be, sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Organisations are going to, in this day and age, most organisations collect data, collect information from the end user or customers in some way, shape or form. That information generally constitutes personal data.
Yeah.
The minute that organisation has personal data about individuals, and I'm not talking about their employees or consultants, I'm talking about individuals off the street, the supplier, the customers, they have an obligation to tell their end users, the data subjects, the individuals, what they're going to do with that data.
Yes.
How they're going to use it.
Absolutely. And also they have the duty to tell their employees about how they're going to use their data. So you could have a privacy notice that it's internal for the employees.
Absolutely.
Also, you need a privacy policy in terms of how you want your employees to process that privacy data.
Absolutely.
So this is where the two vary, or differentiate.
And I think if you think about one way of looking at that policy document is if you've got employees who have access to confidential information, you're setting out the rules by which they can use that information. And that's exactly what personal data is.
Yes.
It's confidential information. People wouldn't give it to you willingly.
Yes.
Unless there were kind of safeguards.
Absolutely, yes. And that's what the policy is there to do, is there to give the employees the guidance on how to deal with, confidential information or personal data, etc. Is not there to inform.
No.
That's the different purpose, isn't it?
And I think the other side of the coin is actually, as an employer, you've got a responsibility to ensure your staff are trained.
Yes.
To have training mechanisms and to make sure your staff are aware of what they can and can't do.
Yes.
During, any employment contract, any employment will have, you can do this, you can't do that. This is the expectations that we have of you and your performance. And that privacy policy would be setting out those expectations in relation to the use of personal data by the employee.
That's right. Yes, yes. I also cannot help but think that the reason why, the terms privacy policy in connection with websites in particular, is sort of had, a little bit of an American influence, because a lot of website platforms are American products, and they come in with an already built-in element that says, privacy policy. It also sometimes even includes like a dummy, which is supposed to be a privacy notice, but they call it privacy policy. And so I think that is what also helped with the confusion on the terms.
Yeah.
But what is quite concerning is that the website designer, who are not expert in data protection, they take what the platform provider gives them and they assume that it is correct, which, again, is rather dangerous, because as we can see, you got the wrong terminology, but also very often the draft that comes with it is not correct either, because the privacy notice needs to actually reflect how the organization uses the data. So if you want, the privacy notice is almost like unique for every individual organization. So it cannot be just something that is standard. Does that make sense?
Yeah, one size does not fit all privacy notices.
I mean, you can start with a template, but then you need to customize it to make it relevant to you as an organization.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, suddenly, what if you have a business model that you're selling? I don't know. You're selling pens to customers, for example. But in order to sell those pens, you need, I don't know. You need to know what. If you're selling ink pens, you need to know what kind of pen the individuals have got. You need to know what type of ink they want. You need more information. But if you adopted the one-size-fits-all privacy notice, that additional information and the reason why you want that information would not be addressed.
That's right, yeah.
And what if, you had delivery limitations and you copied and pasted someone else's privacy notice? What would happen then? You've suddenly adopted a privacy notice saying that you'll deliver to anywhere and everyone.
Yeah. So it would not be fit for purpose. But also, if you are copying and pasting someone else's, you're infringing into copyright.
Exactly. Yeah, so don't do it. Basically, is what I was saying.
Invest the time to do it yourself and do it right. Yes, by all means. If it helps you start with a template, but then please change it to to reflect your own environment. And the other thing that I've started seeing recently, and I don't know if you come across that as well, Sona, but again, on website or online apps, when you're registering with something, when you're purchasing something, they ask you to accept and agree to the privacy notice. Have you come across that?
I have, and I'm always wondering Well, what if how can I say no? I don't know about you. I've never seen an option to decline.
No.
So
no. And
I got a choice.
they also bundle it together with the terms and conditions. So it's like just one tick for both.
Yeah.
And so that really winds me up.
Well, I think legally, what we say, we've always had this issue with terms kind of incorporated by reference. So if I was selling you, going back to my pen analogy, if I'm selling you pens and I've got a set of terms and conditions that happen to be on my desk here, I might say, oh, these terms and conditions apply. And that might be written in my final invoice. So what I'd say is those terms and conditions might be incorporated by reference or by, included into the contract by incorporation. Think about, when you park in a parking lot, the car park company is not going to list all the terms and conditions. They might have a little website, go here, check it out. Nobody ever checks them out. We all know that. We're quite happy to just park, move on. But effectively, I think that's what these consent privacy policy notices, whatever they are, the Americanisms are trying to do. Just bundle it all together. You have no choice. You've done it.
Yeah.
Job done. They've washed their hands of it. They've flagged it up to you. I think it is from where they're coming from.
Yeah. But again, it's an incorrect practice because first of all, I don't have to agree or accept your privacy notice. It's there to inform me. I don't even have to read it if I don't want to, but it is your obligation as the business to make it available to me if I choose to read it. So number one.
Exactly.
Number two is not, a legally binding document. Do you know what I mean? It's not a legal document either. So I don't have to accept it, sign it. Anything like that.
It's just got to be there, and you as the provider of the website need to be able to tell the regulator it's always been there.
Yeah.
And the suppliers always had access to it.
So I mean, my personal advice would be keep the T's and C's and the privacy notice totally separate. Do not bundle them together. If you need for legal purposes, when someone is purchasing something from through your website or your online app, and you need them to accept your terms and conditions, of course, have that, but keep the privacy notice separate. Do not bundle them together. Again, because you're not, even if the ticket will not be lawfully enforceable, just, you know what I mean? You will not standing up in court to say, yeah, but they accepted the privacy notice. Well, there is no such a thing.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't have to. That wasn't.
No. And then you're getting yourself into trouble, actually, because then the counterpart would then say, well, then you're not complying with GDPR.
Exactly. But clearly, you've just explained that you don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yes. So don't do that.
Don't do that. Keep them separate. Simple. Don't make things complicated. And actually, that takes me to another aspect of privacy notice that I wanted to talk to you about is what a privacy notice should look like, because I have seen so many that I just want to put my hands in my head and just.
Do you know, it's interesting. I read somewhere, I think this was a US blog that analysed and calculated that would take something like 80 or 90 days to read all the privacy notices that you'd been subjected to. And that kind of puts it into context. No one's got time to read them. And that is the whole issue, isn't it? The theory behind these privacy notices is they should be informative.
Yeah.
They've got a purpose. So they've got to be user-friendly.
Yeah, and they've got to be succinct and in simple language. Think back of the analogy that I used earlier about, the sheriff that goes into the village and put the note.
Yes.
Those, it was a one-pager, do you know what I mean? Very simple, because people, when back then, obviously in the Middle Ages, were illiterate, but obviously not the case anymore. But you need to think of who is your audience. Your audience are not going to be lawyers.
exactly.
So you've got to have it in simple language. Actually, the regulation actually says that it's got to be in simple language, so no legalese. So my advice: do not get your lawyers to do it. Get them to check it to ensure that you've covered all the points, or someone that is a data protection, specialist. But write it yourself, simple language.
You know what I've often asked my students to do is, when they're explaining the law, to write as if they're explaining it to their best friend or their neighbour, or basically a non-lawyer.
Yeah.
And if their friend, their recipient is looking confused, you haven't succeeded in your job.
Yeah.
And I think it's exactly the same with privacy notices.
Right, exactly. Absolutely.
You've got to factor in your target audience. And we were discussing earlier, if you had a website that provided services to children, and the target audience was children, again, you've got to adapt your language, your notice for your target audience.
Yeah.
Now, children, yes, we have very bright children, of course, but we also need to address the level of understanding that you'd expect your target audience to have, and tailor your notice accordingly. So again, going back to our one size does not fit all. It's got to be appropriate.
Yeah. Have you got any examples that you could share with us, Sona?
Well, I was looking, and I came across two examples that I really liked, and I know we were discussing this earlier. So Candy Crush was huge, wasn't it, a while ago? Everyone had Candy Crush on their phones, and I met...
I think I still do.
Well, there you go, people still do. I met one of the lawyers for Candy Crush who actually wrote who referred me to their privacy policy. And I had to tinker with it, and it was so well done because it was animated. It was in the style of Candy Crush, so it had, go to the next level instead of keep reading, and it had the animation, the features on the privacy policy mimicked the game. So it was very cleverly done. And it was, you're nearly there, and you're on level 3, and click here, and very, very clever. But again, mindful of its audience.
Yeah.
And I thought that was genius. And the other one I saw that I quite liked was Lego. Lego obviously appeals to children and adults alike, but they have a kids safety policy with the Lego characters. And it's animated and very clever, and it's only a couple of minutes. And going back to these policies or these notices don't have to be complicated.
No.
It's going back to clear, simple language. Just tell the users what you're doing with their data, how long you're going to keep it, why do you want it?
Yes. Yeah, and again, what the example that you just mentioned, they are engaging, do you know what I mean? They're interactive, and I've seen the one from EasyJet, which is a video, again, which you can, if the audience are interested, you can go on YouTube and just search for EasyJet privacy notice. And again, it's done with their branding colors, again, it's very interactive, very engaging. Again, it's only a couple of minutes long. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Now, obviously, not every organization has the budget to be able to do this. But you can still be creative. I've created a couple of them for some clients using Canva. Again, which they loved it, very engaging, using their branding color, using images that reflect, their ethos and their values. It's amazing. Or you can also use PowerPoint. It doesn't have to be expensive. Be creative with it. Make it, as I said, engaging. I can't say that enough. I've got a client, they're a charity, they support disabled individuals, not just physically disabled, but also, mental disabilities as well. So we created the privacy notice using the easy read method. So long as the content within it is correct, then you can be as creative as you want, you know, and if you engage your marketing department, if you have one, you know, and yes,
And
I can't say that anymore.
that you can get inspiration from fun privacy notices out there.
Yeah.
I'd avoid, you know, the big names, you know, the Amazons and those kinds of privacy notices, which are very American and written for a different purpose, I think.
Yes.
I think
they're very, you know, they read like a legal document, and that's not what you want. That's not yeah, no. And so really, you know, in summary, right, when you're writing your privacy notice, use simple language, no legalese, make sure that it's engaging and interactive, keep it short, keep it separate from your terms and conditions, keep it separate from your privacy policy. That's a different document for a different purpose. Anything else that I've missed, Sona?
No, I think, you know, it's there to inform.
Yes.
And don't use it for any other purpose.
Yeah, and exactly. So, and your data subjects, you know, who you are giving the privacy notice to, do not need to agree, do not need to accept it, and they don't even have to read it. But you have the obligation to make it available to them. So, thank you.
And I think, sorry,
go on.
I think if you've got a good notice, people will talk about it.
Yes, exactly.
And you'll gain the
just
trust.
done with Lego, EasyJet, and so on. Yes.
And you get the trust of the audience.
Absolutely, yeah. And
you get brownie points.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win when done right.
Yes, agree, totally agree. Sona, thank you ever so much for joining me today. Would you like to share your contact details? Should anyone want to wish to contact with you?
It's been my absolute pleasure, Christina. Thank you so much. I think contact details wise, probably LinkedIn is the best way to get hold of me.
Fantastic.
So please do. Thank you very much.
Excellent. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search for CVG Solutions, or alternatively email me at info@cvgsolutions.co.uk. Thank you for watching.